Welcome to the Tea with your host, Nee and
Ree.
Hey girl, I missed you.
I know I've been MIA for a few weeks now, and you've been flying solo,
I
but I'm
have
back.
been.
I'm
Yes,
back. And
she's
I'm so
back,
excited
y'all.
to be back because we got something special for the people.
We do. But before we do that, we want to welcome you back. Not just read, but we want to welcome y'all back to the channel. If you are
Yes.
new to the channel, then welcome. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you like the content that you receive, and also so that you won't miss any of the new episodes. We
Yes. Hit the notification bell. Ring,
yes,
ring,
ring
ring,
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 ring
ring,
ring.
ring.
So, Girlfriend Tea is where we talk about motherhood, we rep God, we talk about wifedom, that is a word, and everything in between. Our goal is to educate and promote women and support small businesses. So, if that is for you, this is where you need to be, Girlfriend Tea. So, do we want to go ahead and talk about? Let's bring in our guest before we talk about our topic. Let's
Yes.
do that. So, go
Yes.
ahead, Rhea. I'll let you do the honors.
Well, I have the esteemed privilege and pleasure to welcome our first guest, our very first guest to the podcast,
Mhm.
Girlfriend Tea with Nee and Ree. This young lady is so inspirational. She is so encouraging. She is so motivational. She is my big sis of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, but she is so amazing. She is a bright light. She is known on Instagram as the hope dealer because she just gives you that kind of motivation, encouragement that you need. She is dealing out hope to encourage and influence everyone. And she is making her mark in higher education as well.
Yes.
So, without further ado, we welcome to the stage Miss Tomeika Bennett.
Yay!
Yay! I was like, brr, 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 brr. My word, you come on all
Oh,
in.
yeah.
Right. You gotta have the sound effect.
Yes.
That was
I
my
like that.
pew, pew, pew.
We
Welcome
are
to
so glad to
the
have you.
girl.
Well, thank you. The pleasure is certainly all mine, and I definitely was just so excited when Nee and Ree invited me to the tea.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm just fortunate to have this opportunity to serve as their first guest. Indeed.
Yes, this will be the first of many.
Yes.
Yay.
And I
Fun
forgot to
time.
mention, Tamika has a podcast too, so you can also check her out there as well. We'll put some links. We'll figure it all out. Put the links in the description box so you can stay connected with her via Instagram, her podcast, all that stuff as well. So,
Well,
Yes.
since you said that, let's go ahead and transition a little bit. Miss Tamika, let the people know who you are and what you do and your media, your social media handles.
Okay,
Give them
so
a little bit of that tea.
yeah. So just a little bit about me. I always like to start off by repping the fact that I am from Pisgah Crossroad, Rembrandt, South Carolina. Grew up in rural. When I say rural, honey,
rule.
rural, no flashing lights, South Carolina. I always like to start off with that because that has so much influence on part of my upbringing and how I become who I am today. So that's first and foremost. Native of that area, background is in education and college access, and really more than anything, that hope dealer piece that we'll get into a little bit later evolved from a lot of that and just my passion for working with young people and people development. I definitely would love to have y'all follow me on Instagram. You can find me at True Sankofa. And just to give a little bit about that, Sankofa is another word that I fell in love with probably in about eighth grade, when I went to an African American Heritage Festival, and they were talking about the idea of Sankofa, and it really influenced me because it's all about remembering to look back and bring others forward. So
Mm.
that has stuck with me for many years and has influenced a lot of what I do. So on IG, you can find me at True Sankofa. That's TrueSankofa. out in Facebook land, for those of you that's still out there, you can find me over there. Yes, we out there. It might be a little drop in, little visitation, but we're out there. You can find me there as Tomeika Bennett. I will say, and that's something that we'll be talking about at some point as well, just part of my personal brand and some things that I'm rebranding. So, but come check me out there at Tomeika Bennett, Bennett, and it's Tomeika.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So she gave you a little bit of who she is, and like she said, we're going to get more into that later. But the topic for tonight is to school or not to school. That is the question.
Yes.
So the reason for this topic is, if y'all don't know, Steph Curry from the Warriors. Let's go Warriors.
Yes.
Golden State.
Yes, Golden State. He has earned his degree after 13 years of leaving school. So he was already in college. Of course, he got drafted into the NBA. He had one more term left, and then he was just like, you know what? I got this contract. Let me just go ahead and make this money. So he finally finished. And the first question is, did he need that degree? Y'all think he needed that degree?
Ooh.
Just let Tomeika answer, because you know my answer.
I mean, he got the money already. He got the status. He got the stats. Did he need a degree?
Well, I think that is a very loaded question, but my perspective is very broad on this from the perspective of Mr. Curry. From the perspective of, one, I can appreciate the fact that he finished because of the fact that when he left Davidson College in North Carolina, and I will say Davidson is one of the most beautiful college campuses and towns that I have ever visited. I'm not going to give any plugs from them. So if you check them out, is all I can say. But I will say what has been funny for me is that I know individuals that work at Davidson. And this week, my LinkedIn has been popping with Davidson folks. So I've been like,
what's going on at Davidson?
Right. What is happening at Davidson? So part of that, so in terms of Steph, I think the biggest thing for me was that he had made a commitment to follow through on his degree. That's the first part. I can appreciate why he finished it. The second part is he also had very few credit hours to still finish.
Right.
So regardless of, I'm sure, the student loans or however he was paying for it, because homie probably had a full ride to Davidson or pretty close. And I will say Davidson, Duke, and Furman are all sister universities. So that right there tells you what that price tag is.
Because I know Furman is high.
$60K plus.
Wow.
A year. Right.
Wow.
Right. So that alone, I mean, that alone. So when you think about potentially twofold, how much money he and his family potentially had already invested, the time that he had already invested, but also the money that he brought into the college and all of those things. So of course, this is putting Davidson back in the limelight. Okay. And I think, again, it's interesting as someone in higher education, because the pandemic, the shift in the economy, higher ed has taken an enrollment hit.
Yeah.
So, of course, a lot of people that never, ever thought about Davidson College in Davidson, North Carolina, that's near, the lake. It's that area up there with the lake and all the fancy stuff. It's a whole Davidson. I'm just like, it reminds you of a Clemson, like the town is because of the college.
Yeah.
So that part, I think, like I said, because he had a commitment, because he was so close. Of course, he had the bank to just pay the last little bit. He helping his college, no telling. Like I said, enrollment has taken a hit. Him writing that check, and I'm sure he's probably a donor and all. They probably got some scholarships and different things in his name. as well. The last part of it is, does he need the degree for his profession? Not necessarily. But I will say, from the perspective of, he earned his bachelor's of arts in sociology. So I think it's more so about the long view, especially because athletes in the United States in particular, they have a lot of influence when it comes down to human behavior.
Right.
Our young people, a lot of them get involved with social justice issues. A lot of them get involved with education and so many other things. So with that sociological perspective, I think that's also going to help him as a communicator and as he plans for, what is my legacy going to be?
Wow. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Now, does he necessarily need the degree professionally? No, but the influence that he's going to be able to exact because of the knowledge that he's gleaning from it, and from a statistical standpoint as well, he also understands that many of the young men and women that look up to him, their chances for becoming a professional athlete versus receiving some form of education beyond high school, statistically, it's not a 1 in 10 type statistic. It's like a 1 in 100,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That are going to get a chance to play professionally. So it's part of his due diligence to finish that degree. When you think about it, Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq has, I don't even know how far. That's what I was going to say. I thought that he had gotten his doctorate. I mean, of course, Anthony Anderson was in the news recently because he finished at Howard University at Chadwick Boseman's College of Fine Arts. I think about the number of people that have graduated from there. Taraji P. Henson is a Howard graduate. So
I want to say she was. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think she has a doctorate too. She has an honorary doctorate.
An honorary doctorate in the doctor.
School, but
yeah. So that's that side of it. When you look at people in certain spaces, the why behind the degree is the big picture that you have to look at. Now, when we talk about on personal level, then that's a different conversation, because of course all three of us have our own personal stories with it. And even for me as a higher education administrator, I understand you would never hear me say that every single person needs a college degree. Will you hear me say that young people or even people that are career changers potentially need something beyond a high school education? Yes.
Definitely.
I'm going to chime in. Go ahead, Nee. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Rita, I also want to give her a shout out. This is Dr. Brown over here. If y'all don't know.
Dr. Brown,
yes.
That part.
And what I wanted to tell you, and Rita, you got to tell about your article that you was in.
Oh,
Rita, yes.
Okay.
Rita was in an article that talked about student loan debt. And so I'm gonna let her chime in and do her part, but I want to give that shout out to the doctor.
Yes, the doctor is in the building.
Y'all know I am not about titles, and that is kind of going to be like what my response is going to be about. Tomeika, you did bring some things to my attention that I really didn't consider because I have a strong opinion about it or whatever. But I do.
I'm with it. So do I.
Yeah, I can have a strong opinion about it, but I definitely see what you're saying. And I think, and I was saying, I think me and Shanice were talking about it yesterday or whatever. Yes, I see how he did it for, like, he was dedicated to something. He wanted to see it to completion, that kind of thing. I commend him for that. The other thing that you kind of brought to my attention as well that I really didn't put a lot of thought into is how many people he might be helping afterwards. And usually I'm always looking at things with like two different views, or I try to. So I'm like, Is there going to be some kind of partnership? Is there going to be something, some kind of scholarship he's going to be offering, that kind of thing? Because he is the type of person, he is very philanthropic and he likes to give back and stuff like that. So I didn't really think about it from that particular perspective, but knowing the type of person he is, I would not be surprised if he might be working with the school to do that and, you know, help get other African Americans students into the school or into that college or whatever. So I see how it could be beneficial from there. My conflict with a couple of conflicts is, like you said, that school is very expensive. So if he's doing some kind of scholarship, that's great. The article I was featured in was about student loan debt, and it was specifically saying that African American women, or Black women, I should say, have higher student loan debt than any other demographic, so to speak. And the article was seeing if you know, if Biden's student loan forgiveness might help out. Yeah. Now, my other thing is, like what Tomeika was saying, is that it might help him move in certain circles and do certain things. My conflict with that, or what I feel, and it very well may, I don't like it because I feel that we as Black people always have to keep proving ourselves in order to move in certain situations, when that might not always be the case for other races or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's why some of us keep going to college and getting in debt, and you know, we feel like we have to have this degree and that degree because we keep having to prove ourselves. And I know this might sound radical. It's just like the new kind of, I won't say new kind of, but in a sense, it could be like the new slave brand. Like,
oh yeah, trust me, I have thoughts around that too. So yes, please keep
giving. So like I have this brand, so I can get into these access to these different things because I have this degree, when other people can just walk right in. I mean, I know there's other people like Kim Kardashian, she's going to be, you know, a lawyer, all that kind of stuff, but like how you said, social justice, she meeting at the White House. I mean, not saying Steph Curry didn't get to meet at the White House or whatever, but she's working for social change. Yes, she's going to school, but I don't know. Sometimes I get conflicted with us having to continually prove ourselves, to prove that we can have a seat at this particular table because we have all these credentials, degrees, and things of that nature. So I don't know. So that's just my little tea on it.
That's your tea. Okay, so I want to give Steph Curry his props, because he did finish. Like you said, he stayed committed to that commitment. And that's awesome. I didn't think about the promotional part of it. I was like, maybe it was a little, maybe not, but maybe it was a little bit more to it than him just getting his degree. I didn't know about enrollment dropping. Had no idea, no clue. But that's because I'm not in school anymore. The reason why I brought up this subject is because, so he stopped to go ahead and pursue his career. Now, you know, he had some money, but he made more money. And I was talking to Reed, and I said, you know what? If I had the opportunity, let me take that back. If school was explained to me in a different way, I probably wouldn't have went to school straight out of high school, because like in the article, I am one of those many women that are 6 figures in debt. Okay, so it's up there, and I went on to get my master's degree. I could have went to work first. There are a couple of jobs that I had that actually paid for you to go to school, so they did tuition reimbursement. I could have took advantage of those, but I didn't know about that. Not already had the degree. And I was told, or I was taught, or I was brought up to believe that you go to school so you can make the money. Another thing was, when I came out of school with a master's degree, I was making below $30,000 a year. This is almost 10 years ago. And I met and talked to people who were making more than me with no degree. And that was Black or white. They've been working. They were in the field, manufacturing to be exact, but some wasn't. Some was in the helping field, but they already had the money. So I had the debt and was trying to make the money, where I could have made the money and not had the debt. So For him, I guess it doesn't really matter because he had the money.
Right.
We assume he had the money.
Right.
But if I had the opportunity to go ahead and somebody drafted me to be whatever, I'm gonna say a basketball player, I definitely would have left. I definitely would have made that money. And I also think I would have came back to go to school. But the thing I really want us to think about is that debt. So when I say, does he need the degree, it's really, do we need the degree?
Right. Right.
Now. Do we still need that degree? Do we there's so many different avenues out here. Like my mom taught you either go to school or you go to work. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I was going to work. But with my children, I don't think I'm going to push school like that. I do want them to have a trade, but school necessarily, I'm not sure. So how is it different now versus when it was when we were back in school or when we were off going to college?
Yeah, so no, I definitely love both of y'all's perspectives on it, and I started jotting down a couple of notes because of the fact that I'm like, ooh, y'all are in the building. So first and foremost, Dr. Brown. I know. Let me. I'm gonna have to.
I'm Sarita. That's just my title.
Yes, it is your title. Yet the thing that I have come to realize, though, I'm gonna address this in two parts. You know when it's appropriate to leverage that title. So that's something that is very, very key for us, is that it is a double-edged sword, especially for women of color, people of color in general. Now, I think the biggest thing is you brought up so many fascinating points about, are people just trying to get degrees because of the fact that they feel like that's what it needs to do in order to advance or whatever the case may be. So, the interesting part is this. I have had that dilemma, especially in higher education. I mean, it's higher education. I never thought that I would want to be a vice president or a president of a college. If I aspire to get there, I need more of the theory behind higher education administration. And granted, I know that I can get it multiple ways. But with that theory comes that EDD or that PhD. So it's about necessity. I think that's part of it, is that it's chunking it in categories because of the fact that it just depends on what type of career clarity that a person has and a direction for what they want, where they want to go. So I'm looking at y'all, Nee and Reed, and I'm like, Nee, Sharita, all of them. I just love it. So that part, Sharita, I think is where it gets complex, because for a lot of people of color, it's like, okay, no, and I know. I mean, I done seen it in higher education. I'm like, hey, sis, I know for a fact there are individuals that got master's degrees after me, got into positions, and some of them making $90,000 right now with just their masters, and I'm like, baby,
some ain't adding up.
Some ain't adding up. So that part of it I see, and I can think about from the perspective of kind of like what you were saying, Shanice. Y'all, when I graduated from undergrad, there was a particular institution when I realized that I didn't want to teach K-12, and I'm telling y'all, like, I'm just having this whole thing of like, ooh, so many conversations and things that we could have around it. So I will say, when I graduated, so this is let me back up just a little bit. I think all of our parents are probably around about the same age. They grew up in a similar era. So for them, when their parents were coming up, certain jobs you could get with an 8th grade education or less. By the time they got to high school, it was like, oh, you at least need a high school diploma to get certain jobs. So we knew that trajectory was continuing to expand. So for them, of course, we know education is a gateway in a lot of different ways, but at the same time, if you are not, the disadvantage for people of color is we don't necessarily have the language and understanding of how to navigate the system.
And that is exactly what it is.
That's what I'm telling you. It is the system. Because when I'm looking at you, when y'all talking about y'all dead, the flip side of it, I was like, well, you know what, Tomeika? You be over here fussing about, I mean, I got like 50K, but it's still 50K.
Right.
Not working education. And trust me, I ain't making enough to survive and pay y'all these here student loans.
Right.
And we know it gets even more complicated when you start talking about, oh, are these federal student loans or do you have private student loans? With private ones, I can't put it in forbearance but so many times. So that's really what it is. The complication revolves around understanding the system. And that's where part of my passion kind of comes from. So I want us to continue to be conversational. So I'm a pause for a second there and see if y'all got some thoughts around that part. And then
I got something to say about the system, just because. Well, okay. And to piggyback off of you, Tomeika.
So this
say what now?
We're gonna put this on pause because this is getting good.
Yes. Right? And Shanice, I do want to go to you. I'm gonna talk about the gap year thing.
You want to talk about the gap year? Okay, so listen, we have so much tea right now. We can't squeeze it into this whole episode. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to come back next week, and then you're gonna have to watch the follow-up conversation. But we're gonna keep this going with Miss Tomeika, and Ree. So come back next week, and we'll have more info for you. Y'all want to do that? Just come back. You gonna come back?
We can do that. We'll pick up.
I'm here for it. I am here for it.
Okay. Well, until then, guys, because this was really, really good. Until then, y'all have a good week, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye, y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
I'm sorry I cut y'all off short, but I'm sorry. This is getting good, and we're gonna have to do it again.
Yes.